thank you for coming to CONLIFE, the second podcast by Chronicles of Comic-Con, brought to you by our favorite sponsors at Dark Nyte Studios. This is one of his shirts I'm wearing. Go check out his Etsy store for some of the cool items he has available there. He made all my logos, a bunch of the shirts I wear, the CONLIFE lettering graphics, a bunch of graphics I use, and some of the ones I use that he's not proud of are not the ones he did. I did those myself. Go check him out for all your shirts needs. Also check out exclusivehempfarms.com. They're giving all of our listeners and followers 10% off all their CBD products. Click the links in the bio and use Down the Road Show as your promo code to get that 10% off. So why I started CONLIFE, the podcast, was just so I could get together with friends from the convention circuit. How are you doing, Jerry and Serenity?
We're doing good.
Awesome.
Getting through our Christmas season, which is in 2020 a little different than obviously previous years, but we're making it work.
It's been a little crazy,
Yeah.
but we cannot complain at all because it's all the crazy that we need right now with this year being crazy.
And that's the thing, is like, that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you guys on the show as old convention friends in the circuit. I'm getting to know more about your life now than I ever did in the circuit because, you know, we're always busy selling, and you're selling, I'm filming. We never have time to actually talk and catch up and get to know each other when we're at conventions. So it's been a pleasure watching you guys adjust to 2020 after the con circuit just completely went away and disappeared. So you guys had to adjust really fast. And so now every Friday, you guys have CouchCon. Let's tell the people about your guys' CouchCon.
Sure. Well, the way this all started, we were on the road, like you said, doing our shows. We were, I think our last show was where were we last?
I got your art on the wall behind me. So
March.
proud of that.
What show was that?
We did Cleveland in March. Yeah,
that's right.
That was the last one.
So we were in Cleveland in March. We were about to head to Emerald City Comic Con, which we were driving across country to do that because we drive everywhere. And we got pretty much out the first day and realized that is not happening. So we headed home. We just said, we'll just go home. We'll figure it out from there. And hopefully things will get a little better within a month. No, that does not happen. So basically, once we realized that no conventions were going to be happening pretty much for the rest of the year. I mean, at first everybody was just pushing their shows to like the second half of the year as it's going to happen in September instead of March, or it's going to happen. Right. So we were like, nah.
Postponements.
Yeah. Right. So that was going on for a while.
While everyone was watching San Diego and be like, well, San Diego still happens, then maybe we'll still have our con. Yeah.
So we kind of got home, and once we realized this was all happening, the first thing we did was freak out a little because we realized we had no income.
We took the first 2 weeks like everybody else did to kind of hunker down and wait it out and see the direction this was going.
Yeah. So we were like, okay, so the world is going to end. We'll just figure it out. I had, because we had just bought a new house and we were, getting ourselves all ready for that. And once we started looking at this going, how are we going to pay our bills? How are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? And then I just said, you know what? We were talking and I said, let's do an online show, because one thing that we were always kind of planning, and I even was talking about this. I had a conversation with Neil Adams of all people, like at, I think it was in New Orleans, beginning of the year, about how, in my mind, I feel like, yes, the con scene is important, but I also felt it was important that the online presence of us as artists and vendors was going to be important, because once the con scene, I felt like once that took like a turn or got a little too absurd, you need to have something to fall back. Because people will talk about the bubble burst forever. But so I said to him, I said,
implosion, as I like to call about it.
Yeah. So I said, online is going to be the way to save that for us. So we were already kind of planning that pretty much since day one to have some kind of an online presence. And we just said, you know what? Let's start an online show that our fans can just buy from us online. We'll do a weekly thing, and we called it CouchCon. In fact, I don't even think there was a CouchCon. Now it's funny, like you Google CouchCon, it's probably about 20 other people doing CouchCon. But we started it, and we were like, all right, we'll just do kind of like a small setup of what we do at the show. I got the lights going and the metal and the whole display, and we were like, and we were trying to figure what could I sell that would help us out. And the thing that kind of came to me was like, well, I do limited edition pieces of my art. I do only 50 of each on the medals. You've got a few of them behind you. In fact, actually,
32.
the Bosk one is retired, so that's a good example. There's only 50 of those made, and you probably have a low number there. Right?
I got number 32. I was
32.
late to the game.
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
happy to
Beginning
have
of the
one
year,
to match
yeah.
my actual. To
So
match
the way
my
we've been doing
bounty
it
hunters.
is that I only do 50 of each of those pieces, and then once it retires, I'll sell it like as an open-ended comic. But we do artist proofs of each of these pieces. That's what I was doing to kind of just get like a feel for the way that would look on the metal before I sell them.
Right.
We never used to sell them. Usually I would donate them to charities and stuff, so that, you know, it was a good way to, hey, you're getting a 1 of 3 piece for like a special charity or something. And then we started thinking, well, we're the charity now. We need to figure this out here. So,
Right.
so we started offering those APs, and some of those pieces have been retired since like 2015. So there were people that we've had fans that have come and gone, and some of them have been like, I wish I could get that one piece. Well, that was the thing. So we started doing a show where we would give people a chance to, and of course, the first time we did it, we were like, all right, well, we'll just have people just say, you know, dibs, scream it on the screen or something like that. And it didn't work that way because we'd had people in lag,
Between
going back and
lags
forth
and everything
all that.
else. We've
And it's
definitely
only me and her.
evolved.
And the problem with the 2 people running a whole business like we've done, yes, it's a big business, but at the same time, there's just, you know, there's a big difference between like us and like the Jerry Lewis Telethon. It does, you know, there's a few more people involved. So we dropped the ball in 6 Ways to Sunday on how to organize. We were thinking, oh, we'll turn around and type things in on the computer. We'll do this, we'll do that. It came down to just like a screaming match over who said things first and this and that. So we figured out after that first week of doing this, which was a success. I mean, we sold out of everything we had. People were buying things left and right. People were
That's
excited.
awesome. Yeah.
So we were like, all right, we're going to do this again, but we're going to try and do it a little smoother. So what turned into what made our lives a little easier turned into more work for Serenity here, who basically had to make sure she put up the event each week so people could go on and then basically claim what they'd like to get a chance to win. And what I did is I got a little app on my phone, and it was just a random, like, you know, a rolling app basically. And I would put everybody's name that wanted a piece. We'd go through, and that person, if they were there, would get it. Or if they had a rep. We got to the point where we realized there were so many families and people that would start wanting to get things that they would have friends from, like, our, you know, they started inventing names and things like that. So as long as it's a Facebook page, I mean, I just didn't want to start turning it into a nightmare. But we have, you know, we have people that would get these items, and that's what got us through the last 35 weeks. Of course, I would come out with new pieces. That was cool. That was like a good way for people to see my new stuff. Any new commissions I had completed, I was showing people, so it was kind of fun for people to get to see their commissions before we mailed them out to them. So
we do a
all these
different
things.
theme like each week, you know.
Yeah.
And we've even had like we had like a retirement party because,
Yeah.
you know, like since we're not on the road and we're not selling obviously as rapidly because there's not as many customers, you know, in front of us.
Right.
We had like a cool party that was just our fabulous 40s. Every piece that was in the 40s it put up, and we had, you know, we have such great and loyal dedicated fans. Some of them have been with us every single week since we started this in April, and they have helped us get to this point in all of this, helping us grow our fan base. They've brought in friends, they've brought in family, more exposure, more reach. You know how all of that works, unfortunately, with social media and all of that stuff. It's all about gathering people and more eyes on your stuff. But we've been able to even have retirement parties for some of the pieces, like that Bosk piece that you got. We just retired that a couple weeks ago because we had another cool game show on Black Friday and everyone jumped on it. So
yeah, like in one day, all of the last 10 pieces were gone, and that was
the
it.
TIE
So,
Fighter
you know,
and the Bosk piece, yeah. So
well, and that's the beauty of it. Like, look, I've been pushing all my artist friends like you guys to start doing more digital stuff for 10 years now.
Yeah.
And so now it's the pandemic pushing everybody that direction has been kind of cool to see their fan base grow and their art kind of expand out into areas they weren't actually previously hitting by going to Comic Cons. And that's one of the things I love about PescEffects. Your art, Jerry, is it's very eye-catching, and you're the first person I'm aware of. I know I can name off a dozen artists that have copied your printing on metal style over the last 10 years. I won't mention their names, but I know
imitation
who you are.
is the highest form of
Form of
flattery,
flattery,
they say.
exactly.
it's all good. You know, that's the funny thing. At this point, we you know, we started doing the art on the metal. That's kind of became our signature thing that you know, and honestly, like the
Your
company I
booth
work.
setup is amazing. Yeah.
Well, see, and that's because of who I am, and that's something we had a conversation with in Albuquerque. That was
Good.
funny.
You're picking up on my segue. That's what I wanted you to talk about.
I mean, I came from a very different background than a lot of my fellow artists. A lot of my comic fellow 2D artists, they all have their backgrounds, but my stuff is a little different. I started off. First of all, I was a lighting director for 20 plus years. I did rock concerts, I did corporate events, I did theater, I did all that stuff. So I already come at things with a lighting perspective on all my stuff.
And
the
a
other thing is I was
perspective.
in Hollywood briefly as a makeup effects artist. That was kind of my dream job that I tried to pursue originally when I was young. So I went off to Hollywood and did
do
the Joe
monsters and
Blascos. I
special
wanted to be
effects.
monsters. Yeah, so I was doing that, which again goes into my
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was trained at Joe Blasco School of Hollywood out there. I did their yeah. So and so I was gonna do, and I did do some makeup credits for some small independent films, nothing huge, because you know the biggest thing was I started realizing how hard it was to get paid as a makeup effects artist. So I was like, wait a minute, you know, they expect me to do the work.
When
and,
he was doing
you know,
it was not nearly as prevalent and celebrated as it is now, because it's so exciting now to watch shows on like
that was before
on
like
sci-fi and stuff.
Before they had Face Off, before all that, it was Jerry running around the streets of guerrilla streets of Manhattan trying to powder faces.
You didn't know anything about makeup or the industry unless you were already into it.
Exactly. You know, which is again, that's the beautiful thing about the right, you know, when Hollywood exposes these things, it's always neat to see it. Sometimes they show it and it always gets like, you get a lot of fans, but at the same time, you also get anybody who's got their hands on a makeup brush, suddenly is a makeup artist and they know what they're doing. But that's the same thing with lighting. That's the same thing with people doing art on the metal, like we talk about here. Right. I mean, so what happened was when I wanted to start selling my art, I wanted to do something that was different. And ironically, I could go back to, I'll actually go back and throw out a friend of mine who I talked to when I was thinking of doing my art, selling it around the country. She used to go to San Diego Comic-Con each year, and she had gotten these metal bookmarks made up of her art. And she gave me one as a gift. And I thought this was the most amazing things. And I said to her, I said, where do you get these bookmarks made? Because I want to do my art on metal. And I contacted the company and I said, hey, we should do this. They weren't even doing 11 by 17. The largest they could do were comic size metals, because it takes special cutters to do the metals that way.
All of that,
and so I invested with him and said, look, I'll give you the money. Let's get a big enough cutter so we could do the full size metals, so we could do this. And that's where this all began. We were like, we got our first metals, I think it was in
all those artists I'm not naming need to thank you for the opportunity.
You know, theory, yeah, because I'll tell you this, we have met like across the country a couple of the artists that have started doing it close to the about same time I did, but they did it differently. They didn't
different
do it
style,
like the
format.
different metal, different style, different this is like. And so like when we see those people, and I've had conversations with them, like they use a thicker gauge metal. I don't know if you've ever seen those at some shows. There's some thick gauge metals guys, and again, it's more of a, they don't go with the translucency, because I use different kinds of metal. There's so many different things. It starts getting way technical when you start talking about the kind of metal and all this stuff. But what really matters the most is to me, this is what I wanted to use to express my art. It's become my canvas.
Right. And that's one of the things I love about it. Like I had to buy lights for my background, which are nothing like your production value, which explains why your CouchCon is so gorgeously lit and looks so great. Like
it's
the
so
production
we got a whole
value,
studio upstairs.
Well, we had
the production value you guys put behind it is amazing. Like that's worth tuning in alone.
Well, we took out like a chunk of the house at first to do this, and we were like, all right, we're just gonna do this and we'll set this up in here. And we finally, like over the last couple months, I think our gift to ourselves was we moved it up to one of the spare bedrooms, which is a little smaller than the space we had, but for ourselves it was kind of like okay, we're learning that this is our life now, and we just wanted to make sure that that's the job up there when we have to film. So we gave it
so you don't have to reset up, take down.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, it's just set up. Well, and it's also like a mental mindset too, because you know it's hard to like. One, we don't take days off, and whenever we do, it's hard to actually enjoy your day off when you're staring at your whole set in front of you, thinking of all the things you need to do. So it's kind of almost more of like a mental thing to separate. This is our living space. This is our workspace. This is obviously going to be happening for a while, so let's just make it ours and go from there. So.
Yeah, well, yeah, because those are the needs of a small independent business, and you have to adjust.
Yeah,
exactly.
We're lucky to have been able to have this as an option. Jerry, whenever we met years ago. Whenever
Ooh,
we,
I want to
the
hear that
first thing
story.
we met online. We met because of his art. I was
Yep.
a fangirl at first.
Yeah.
But like whenever we first started talking,
What?
it was
I'm doing my
almost on
happy
like
dance for everyone on the audio podcast. I'm doing my happy dance right now.
you know, but it was whenever we talked in the beginning and we talked about me in like in a managerial role. Online presence was something we both realized was super important. Thank God that we had the presence of mind to start our website 7 years ago, 8 years ago, to really get the foothold, because that's how we survive now. You know, people are used to, like, places like Amazon, Walmart, they've made just click it and buy it a normalcy. Right. So whenever before people were like, I don't know, buying stuff online is sketchy. Now it's expected. Now that we're all trapped at home, it's prevalent even more so now. So we at least have that foothold between all of our social media and our website that we've worked so hard on. Now we're getting to reap some of the benefits of that, thankfully.
Well, and another thing that's funny is that a lot of these shows that when they decided they finally were canceling for the year, all wanted to throw up some kind of like online show
virtual
thing that they were
con,
gonna,
yeah.
a virtual
Yeah.
con, which, you know, it gets to the point where I'd say to some of these people, you know, and some of these people try to even get money out of people for these things.
Charging
Some
for
are
this
trying to
virtual
charge.
space.
And you know what I got to say to them? Fuck off. I've been doing this for
Yeah.
free for 10 years on Down the Road Show's YouTube channel and trying to build the community, and y'all are just trying to nickel and dime.
Well, the
these
saddest
nerds.
thing
$300,
is
$400 for a virtual space.
That's
I
bullshit.
have my virtual space already. We've already been building that.
No, thank you.
Well, and you know what's even crazier is we get to the point where we'd have more reach than these shows because they don't put the online presence on even for themselves, and they'd be like, oh, don't you want to be part and get your name out to like our 5,000 fans? And I'd be like, I got 80,000 plus people on Facebook alone. I don't need your fans. If anything, you should be kissing my butt so I should be part of your event so they might get some reach. I just never understood some of that stuff, you know.
Brother, you're preaching to the choir. I don't know how many cons I've had to just like, idiots. Like, look, their social media, they got like a couple hundred or 1,000 followers. I got 37,000 followers on one Facebook page alone. Like, I don't need you guys. Like, I've been.
Well, and you know, it takes constant social engagement to keep your numbers up and growing. And if you're posting once a day and not sponsoring or paying for it, like, you know, the reach, you don't have any reach. So that's why we're constantly posting, even our weekly show, you know, like all of these things are just what you have to do to survive in the current market.
Yeah, well, especially with people's limited attention span, it's even worse now. It's
worse than no, we've discovered that people don't read, and I like to type long things. I like to actually leave descriptions on things, and I'll give them all the information, but they just don't read, and I get it. We're all looking at stuff on the fly. We're on Facebook to, you know, enjoy something. That's why his art is so, like, they'll see his art and they'll like it instantly, but I'm too wordy. I'm spammy according to Facebook.
Well, and then even like something that she started doing recently that really got a lot of love and attention is like we sell like Holo-foil paper prints, and she'd do little videos of them like catching in the light, and you see them reflecting. Yep.
Yeah.
So she would do the videos, because even if you just take a picture of it, it doesn't do it justice. But when you show the light hitting it, when you move it, it just goes, oh, now you get the point. Now you can see what's going on. And it makes them really happy. In fact, and then again, another thing to talk about when you mentioned the whole thing about how with all this time and difference of reality here, it gave us the chance to do another thing that I did, which was I created a whole game recently that I was doing. That was something we wanted to do for a while.
Quit stealing my segues. So you got this really cool tabletop game called War of Fandom. Let's talk about that.
Definitely. So
when I told you guys I was mentally not great and I needed you guys to take over the show, I didn't mean literally every second of it.
I told you he's good at talking about himself. He knows how awesome he is. So
I'm gonna sit here and smoke. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, and
welcome
we
to
do
the
one of our
CONLIFE podcast brought to you by Jerry Pesh.
But I mean, we do Gen Con. It's one of our favorite shows we do a year. It's one of the big gaming cons across the country. So, and I've been I've
I
been
was
a
gonna say
D&D
he's been
player.
an old school
I
tabletop
grew up. I was
gamer.
one of those kids in kindergarten reading D&D books. That's how I learned to read, was by reading like AD&D and First
Nice.
Edition and stuff. So like I've always been part of a gaming crowd. I played that. I played WoW for years before I got in, selling
He
my
was a
like
tabletop nerd before
I
it was cool.
yeah, I was more,
Wait. When did it get cool?
I was not celebrated by any means. I would say that. I was more, demonized, I'd say.
Right.
But yeah, so it was always in the back of my head. I would love to do like a game that would be fun that people could play. And the nice part is that there are a few shows that we've always wanted to be able to do that we couldn't do because they only allow people that have games. And we were like, well, it'd be cool if we had a game that we could bring to the shows, and but this was a perfect opportunity. So we put it to fruition. The game it's called War of Fandoms, which is basically the fun part of it's basically
Beat you to it.
Look at this. Oh, you
well,
got,
one of the cards.
You got one
That's
of the
your card you
CouchCon
got.
cards.
But this is actually this is the game. Like it's basically it's really based off
how
of
does it work?
It's based off of rock, paper, scissors, cobra, wizard is what I call it, which is rock, paper, scissors. If you remember back in the day, they had on the Big Bang Theory, they had a rock, paper, scissors,
Lizard
Spock. So I took it my own range just to, copyright infringement. Anyway, the point is
I figured as much.
But needless to say, it involves also like a dice roll mechanic to it, and it's basically a buildable deck.
I
So
mean,
the
you
idea
saw
is
your
you play your
card,
card.
like,
If you
on
look
your
at the back
card
of
on
your
the
card,
back.
there's this little symbol. And so
Yeah.
what happens is on the back of
Yeah,
every one of my
see?
cards, exactly.
Yeah, so you got a cobra symbol.
So like on the back of this one, you
Now
can
it's
see
a
this is the
paper.
paper symbol. So what ends up
So-
happening is you when you play the game, each person has their deck. They draw 3 cards each to hold, and then what happens is while they're playing, they roll the dice, and there's a chart that tells them what to do, which could involve basically like drop any card of this fandom or everyone, and you could do multiplayers. But the whole fun of it is that you play basically the rock, paper, scissors, cobra, wizard. You plop down the card, and then the person who wins based off of the chart gets that card and takes it and puts it in their pile. So it's just the same thing. It's kind of like war meets rock, paper, scissors, where basically as you start collecting more cards, your pile grows. Once you run out of cards, you take your pile, you make more. And so it's a fun game, and you can have more than one player. And as time goes on, there are, the last person left with all the cards wins. And so it's simple, but it's fun.
Fast paced, yeah. But
And I was able to make a large set out of all my cards because I basically took all my pieces that have been retired that people were collecting, and I basically started putting them in this set. So we started off with like a 600 card set.
Are all your cards metal like this?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about it. We did it as a metal trading card game, so people could.
I'm trading this. I'm never getting rid of this.
That was a special rare one because
yeah.
we only offered that for when people got that piece. Like, and that's
came-
something that we start doing.
Came with my
If you
art
notice,
hanging on the wall, and I'm extremely glad that I just cut my nails before doing this show.
now, if you look at the back, the actual number, I have them all numbered because I do keep track of all these. So that's a CouchCon special. So that one
was an exclusive that was only.
I think now, this being our first year of doing, like whenever I come out with a CouchCon exclusive that people can get, I add it to that list. And I think we ended up this year with we got up to 19.
19. Oh, because Project Versus.
Because the last Project Versus that we just did. So we have up to 19 cards that people can get throughout the year. And it works out good too, because people get them for getting some special pieces that may not be able to have. And the fun part is they can play with them and basically add them to their game,
Like he just released for our Black Friday special, he just released a 2-piece companion Nightmare Before Christmas set. And one of the cool
I was just watching that last night.
Yeah, one of the cool additions to that is not only are you getting the cool set of the Nightmare Before Christmas pieces, there was 6 if you bought it during the Black Friday. There was 6 exclusive cards that you could get for CouchCon that were playable in War of Fandoms, and they were cool. They're all like the presents.
I did all the little gifts, like like the ducky and the
and there's 5 of them in the set, but if you bought it during CouchCon, you got that cool chaser card for the 6th card that it's like, so we have like some cards that have like maybe 20 will be in existence, and
That's it. So if you're
Yeah.
trading them, that's your own fault for trading them
Yeah.
away.
Well, and we started a section on our Facebook page as well, because you can have groups associated with your pages. We started a trading card depot, because not only do we have the, the War of Fandoms that we just started, but we also have like our Pokemon metal trading cards that we do. And we also have some other metal trading card sets. So, and now some of those are being created to be playable with War of Fandoms. So people can modify the cards that they've already been collecting, and they're playable. So it's art, and it's functional, and and it's cool.
And now, how are you picking your fandoms for the War of Fandoms? Are these your guys' fandoms, or just the art that you've been making over the years?
Well, that's the beautiful thing. I mean, at this point, in the War of Fandoms, it's 600. Well, it's 300 pieces. Each piece has 3 different variants for the different symbols that it could have. But the beautiful thing is that at this point right now, I mean, I have over 700 pieces I've done. So I've got something from every fandom known to man. The only fandoms I excluded in the original War of Fandoms set that I did was stuff that already had card sets, because ideally I figured people would want, they already have those cards. So I kind of cut out a bunch of like my movie monster sets and my Star Wars sets. But at the same time, I did offer people who wanted to be able to get the ability to actually be able to get symbols to put on their cards if they had them already. Like I actually got little stickers made.
It's because you're a collector. Like I can see your collection behind you.
Yes.
You were a collector before you were an artist and a creator.
Of course.
So that you approach all this from a collector's mindset and point of view.
I do. I mean, I played Magic the Gathering for years, so I went through a lot of that whole collection. I as you can see, I like my statues. That's kind of my sick little hobby. I think everyone has their addiction. That's my addiction. I like my statues. But I mean, yeah, I also look at my art, and I hope, and I try to, that's why I kind of did it the way I did it, is I want people to feel that it's collectible. I want people to feel like they're getting something unique. That's why a lot of artists probably scoffed at me when I would say I was only going to do 50 pieces on my metal prints, because they were just like, oh, so you're only going to be able to sell 50 of these, big deal. And to me, it's more important to give my fans that freedom to get only 50 of these pieces, and then feel like they got something special. And I think a lot of artists don't get that.
Yeah. No, and as
this is the newest set, I just wanted to show you that this was the newest expansion that we just dropped for the War of Phantom. So it's all Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, yeah, Dragon Ball Z fans. So
yes,
to the audio podcast, this is why you go over to YouTube, Chronicles of Comic-Con, so you can actually see what they're showing us, not just what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's cool. And your art is so colorful and vibrant, and a lot of that comes from your lighting and stage production.
I do. Every piece that I create, I make it a point to, like I've explained this before, and that's the best that I could come up with, is that I try and make each character that I am drawing or painting feel like it's on stage at a rock concert. So I feel like I try to do like cool backlighting, front lighting, side lighting. To me, I want it to be as entertaining as you would see if you looked up at a concert and saw that character on stage. So it does allow me to sometimes create some very interesting color combinations that may not be normally associated with certain characters. I've had weird discussions with with certain people commissioning for like nowadays when people commission
Moon Knight was a good example.
Oh yeah, no, Moon Knight. Like if you know the Moon Knight character, it's a solid white character, and the guy who commissioned me for the piece, I looked him right in the eye. I said, this is not going to be a white character when I'm done with it. And he was like, oh no, it's okay, we'll figure. I want your style take on it, and that's the beauty of people that commission me. They want to see my take on these things. So I did it, and it has lots of color, but you still look at it and know it's Moon Knight,
Right. But and it's gonna depending on how your lighting changes on you, it's gonna go from white to other shades, but it changes the background. It's almost like your art dances.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's fun. And I get people that get excited. Like, see, you're one of those people that could appreciate the full extent of what the lighting can do to it. Hence why you put on the multicolored lighting. I get people all day that just love it in the sunlight or just love it in a single light because of the way it reflects and all that. But when people come to our booth, I hear all day long, it's amazing how this one color, when it hits your pieces, changes the whole piece sometimes. Yeah. And it's just a subliminal thing that I like to put in there because I use such vibrant, but yet I still stick to respecting that color wavelength so that when a certain light hits it, it doesn't just and again, you can even see like some of the pieces behind you that are not on the metal, and there's a lot of great artists behind you and stuff like that, that the way their color choices are, it doesn't hit it the same way because they don't do color the way I do color.
Exactly. Yeah. No.
When they like we also started doing the holo-foils, like we talked about, like the Daryl behind you. That's almost a way to kind of bring the color change with you. Like it's already built in. Those are printed on a cool rainbow reflective holo-foil. Those are also limited edition pieces that we created whenever we found that there was people that were bummed by no fault of their own. They missed out on a piece that was large. They didn't even know we existed yet. So it's like, well, how can I get this piece large? So we went, okay, so we're going to do a holo-foil line, different medium, different style, gives you the ability to get it large and still not compromise the integrity of our metal line and stuff. So
does that change the creation of the concept of the art, whether you're making it for foil versus metal?
No, you know what?
Yeah.
But here's the interesting thing. Because I already did it on the metal, I never change my pieces when they get put on that holo-foil. So it's just a lucky happenstance that the colors work as well as they do. Because what happens with the holo-foil is it literally takes the whites of the part that would normally just be metal, and it basically turns them into that rainbow reflective paper. So it kind of like gives it a different vibe, but yet still respects the same because all the colors are still printed onto the paper itself. Funny thing with that too is that's another thing that we had to like when I
A
talked
happy accident.
well, again, we were looking for something cool, and I spoke to my paper printer. I have a great paper printer that does my stuff, and so again, I was another one of those, hey, I'm going to try something. I want to do this. And it was only being done for comic books at the time, really. There weren't people selling prints of that. And I was like, let's do some prints. And then
and the foil paper looks cool.
You can
like right
see
now,
it, yeah.
Serenity's showing me your Black Panther, and it's just the way it bounces off, like the jewelry around his neck looks so amazing.
And it is. It's just a different beast, but it still respects the art, but at the same time, it adds a new element to it.
And again, these are all like limited edition too. This one's an unsigned piece because it hasn't gone out to its new home yet. But
and again, I do a limited edition run of all those. They're all signed in them. We call them the flashbacks, as you see on the back there, because it's a way for people to get it. And I only sell those for pieces that are retired on the large metal.
Well, speaking of flashbacks, let's flash back to Halloween, since this is our Halloween show before Christmas.
Right on.
Our Christmas or Halloween? I think I know the answer. What's your preference?
I'm a Halloween person. I mean, we love Halloween, but I mean, I love Christmas, but Halloween is more me. This was our first year in a long time we were home for Halloween.
Decorating guy, yeah.
I got to carve pumpkins. I was so excited. I carved like 3 pumpkins this year.
Yeah.
And I was
they
all
looked
excited.
great. Yeah.
Thank you.
Halloween, we've missed being on the road for the last 5 or 6 years. We've spent Halloween in a different state.
Convention center, yeah.
Yeah, and while of course it's fun and we love the vibe of Halloween, at a convention and stuff, there's certain traditions, like pumpkin carving. Every year he'd be like, man, I miss carving pumpkins. This year, we went out and found the biggest pumpkin, which unfortunately wasn't as big as we'd wanted, but we found the biggest pumpkins that we could, and he got to create some really cool stuff and decorate up and stuff. So
well, because that's what people who don't realize, the professionals on the con scene, like you guys have been on the road for 8 years straight.
Yeah.
Including holidays, and even when you're on the road, you're not seeing the cities that much. You're in the convention center almost all weekend, and then in a hotel the rest of the time.
Once in a blue moon, even in our best bet, like when you're tired, the last thing you want to do is go out and even go see the city. But sometimes, like when we're in New Orleans, for example, we always make it a point to go do a little sightseeing, see some stuff, because it's just such a great city. There's some places we love to eat, like when we're in Indiana, that we try to go to. Every city we have like, a little
haunts
niche
and
that we try to go to
all across this country. That our little traditions are mostly revolve around food. But yeah, New Orleans is fun because that's the first show of the year normally for us. So it's usually like the first weekend after New Year's. So there's still a lot of the decorations and stuff up. So we get to enjoy some of like the Christmas feel. And it's also going into things like Fat Tuesday and going into their own traditions that they have out there. So there's a lot of cool lighting and decorating and just it's just a nice ambiance that makes us feel a little bit more at home, getting to celebrate a little bit, while on the road.
Well, I think that's one of the things, that has made cosplay so popular and huge, and created its own culture, is all of us Halloween lovers, it has given people an excuse to dress up 365 days a year.
Of course, yeah.
Whenever we first started doing shows, I remember I would dress in I have a cool Vader dress, and I would wear that, and it was and then people would stop me oh, can I take a picture of your cosplay? And it's this is just how I dress. They always I always get oh, I love your costume. And I'm I'm just a goth kid. I just wear crazy stuff like this, but thank you. But yes, the dress up is definitely a fun aspect. Some of the cosplayers out there are so talented and creative with their armor building and stuff like that. There's a few of them that we definitely follow because they have great skills. It's definitely a cool skill level.
How did you build that this week?
Yeah.
Literally this week. You built that this week.
I mean, I even had one of the 501st. I mean, I guess it's a little different than cosplay, but it's a professional cosplay in its own way, I guess. We had a 501st guy commissioned me to do a piece based off of his cosplay.
Technically, they're not cosplayers. They are actually sanctioned by Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
They
have screen accurate. It has to be screen accurate.
Oh, I know. It needs approval and everything. Yeah.
But this one's an interesting one.
On top of that, they have to raise money for charities. They're not allowed to make money. So that's how that works. Sorry.
This guy actually did his own version of a Darth Maul stormtrooper. So, and he's pretty well known for that. And he actually wanted me to do a piece based off of his Darth Maul stormtrooper. So he got a kick out of that. So that was kind of cool.
Well, shout out to my buddy Hip Hop Trooper. They pretty much they stole that look and turned it into the Red Troopers for the new trilogy.
Right.
Like he was ever going to get any money from that. And my friend who does my Vader on this channel
I can actually see the Darth Maul Trooper there.
Oh, nice. Oh, yes. Okay, yes.
I know. A really nice guy too.
Yes. My friend Scott Allen, who does the voiceover and does my Vader acting for my little Vader beer commercials on this channel here, also did a cowboy western version of a Vader that he put together that's super cool.
Okay.
With a mask and everything.
We'll have to check that out.
The full trench and everything. It's
oh, that'd be cool. Wow. Yeah. So instead of a cape, he's got a trench coat.
Yeah.
An old duster.
I'll find his Instagram photo and I'll send it to you guys.
That sounds cool.
You guys will dig it. So speaking of Halloween and horror, what is it about horror that just, that brings people together besides goth kids? Because horror conventions have been
horror people are family. That's a different level of, it's not a fandom, it's a lifestyle.
Okay.
Yeah. No, because whenever we work horror conventions, for sure, it's just a more family type atmosphere.
And they can definitely smell their own too, and they definitely are very leery if they don't like you or they don't think you're posing or something.
You try to
they get
sneak in.
they get really quick to be like, hey, you're not a real horror fan. You're just coming here to try and make some money, or something. They catch that stuff right away.
I mean, what would you say influenced you to get into whenever you went into the makeup end?
Well, that was it for me as a kid. It was Godzilla, watching Godzilla as a kid, and then of course watching horror movies of seeing things like
American Werewolf.
American Werewolf in London was one of my big
transformation still holds up to this day.
Night of the Walking Dead, The Exorcist, Tom Savini is one of my big all-time. I'm one of those people that doesn't geek out over seeing people at shows. And Tom Savini was at a show and I had to chase him down and talk to him and all that. So that was kind of, that's the kind of thing for me. And then of course, like I said, for me, there was a while where I thought I was going to be pursuing that end of going into makeup effects. So doing horror and doing all that. So to me, it wasn't only just what scares you, but it was how did they do it? Because back before all the CGI
all the practical
and
effects
digital,
are just amazing.
It was all practical. They had to make this happen. They had to make that person look like their head was getting ripped off. They had to make that.
They had to invent it.
They had invented, and it was a lot of these films, especially when you hear all these great makeup artists, talk about how they did these things. A lot of it was we just we just,
Rick Baker's Instagram is
you know,
a worthy follow. Yeah.
Oh
Rick
yeah.
Baker.
I bought
you
him
know,
the books
Dick
last
Smith,
year
which
for
is all
Christmas.
began.
That big,
You know,
yeah, that
even if you
double.
go into, you know, classic guys, you know, you know, uh, I'm drawing a blank, but like Boris Karloff and all the old classics that did their own makeups for themselves. They didn't even have makeup artists; they would do it themselves, and you know, and pulled off amazing things. You know, and that's what inspired me to want to go that route. Now, again, as an artist, it's a no-brainer to go from that to this, to say, okay, well, I want to put that detail into my pieces, or that.
Well,
You
everything
know,
you've done has been something creative in the rock and roll scene,
Yeah.
then creative in the makeup and production scene, and then all of that has now carried over in to your creativeness in art.
One
yes.
is college too. The funny thing is like everything that
What'd
he's
you go to
done
college
up
for?
into this.
I mean, I went to college to be a lighting director. That was what I did as college, but I also was lucky enough to be able to.
You took like some
um,
costuming classes.
Well,
and
I had to
stuff.
take costume
Yeah.
history and decor. You had to learn about, because that was the thing, when you went theater, you learned a bit of it all. You didn't learn just about like the lighting and it. So I had to know how about scenery, I had to know about lighting, I had to know about history, and all those things go into, you know, and then even just how. And it's just silly, but like even just learning about how fabric lays on a person affects your art. And then when I draw pieces that people are wearing clothing, how the lighting hits that, you could, and it's interesting too, because it's like I again, I'm not picking on other artists, but nothing sticks in my head a lot when I look at certain people's art and I know that they've never really looked at a piece of fabric lit by light before, or they've never seen how a light hits a person a certain
Right.
way, and where the shadows go
It's
and
not
highlights
easy.
go.
No.
It's you know,
It's
And
something that you have
and
to
that's-
study and learn.
And that's something, what you're talking about now is not something I would have understood 10 years ago, that I completely understand now, just from learning my own production value the hard way
Exactly,
when it
yeah.
comes to video production,
Yep.
and befriending so many visual artists through the convention scene, and especially working with Batt creatively over the years. He's like,
Yeah.
he's helped push me artistically in the right direction so many times.
Exactly. I mean,
So-
and even
All
just,
of these
you
things
know,
that he's done in his past have culminated and led up to his art and style now. That's why it's so uniquely him, because this is all uniquely his experiences that he's had throughout life for the last 30 years. He's been drawing since he was 5. Like his teacher gave him an award in what? Like kindergarten or
some
something?
kind of crazy kindergarten
Because
award.
he was, you know, he was always drawing monsters. He was the kid
That's
that had the
cute.
journal that was always drawing during class that the teachers hated, but he could answer all the questions. So what are you going to do? So it's monsters has been a part of his whole life. That's
Well,
horror
and-
kid.
and what you're talking about there artistically too, like this is something that artists talk about a lot and that the general public doesn't understand, that I like to talk about a lot, so I'm going to bring it up. You're paying for the experience of that artist, his entire life experience put onto that one piece
It's
of
a
paper.
skill level.
It's
Yeah.
a skill level. You're not paying for that one piece of art.
Well, and that's another thing I feel bad about. I mean, I have a lot, you know, from doing a number of shows, I talk to other artists, and you talk to them, and I've had artists come up to me and ask about things like, well, what do you do for commissions? What do you do for that? Why do you charge? I see guys
So many
all
guys
day long
undercharge.
that are undercharging, drawing a one-of-a-kind piece for someone at the table and giving away for not even $50. And it's like, you just gave away a full day of your life drawing that piece at your booth that you couldn't even be selling. Like a lot of times people come up to us at the shows and be like, well, do you draw on site? Like, heck no, I ain't got time for that. I'm too busy selling.
Right.
But I take commissions and I do it in my free time in between shows. Now it's because we have no shows. I literally am living on my commissions, which it's gotten
About
crazy
70
because
pieces
I have
long.
70 locked in commissions right now, because I basically tell people, as long as you don't mind the wait, you can keep getting on the list. And so I have people that are now know that they're not getting something for a year at this point, but basically I said, if you're okay with that,
And
just
they're
put your
always so
deposit in.
cool. They're like, we're it's worth the wait. We don't want it rushed. We'd rather have it done right. Just take your time, you know. And we have like, again, the best fan base. They're so
We have
supportive
great
and
fans.
stuff.
My
A part
fans
of
are
our
awesome.
we started a heavy metal club this year as
Yeah.
part as like something like cool to kind of reward some of our fans that have been following us forever, the people that are helping support us through this more difficult time and everything. So the heavy metal club, one of the things that it gets you whenever you buy it is 20% off a commission. It's not mandatory. You don't have to get this commission. I think every single person has
person got
locked
the
in a commission, and it's so varied. This is the fun part. He has everything from comic book characters. Like right now, he's working on a lot of the DC metal, like Batman. But it goes. He did a Samurai Jack and an Ashi piece yesterday. He's got so much crazy, like from
I get
every
hit from
genre.
every genre.
Every
Hocus
genre.
Pocus.
I do. Well, yeah, and again, I have certain
The
people that'll
Spaceballs piece, one of my favorites.
and it's neat
Tons of
because
Star Wars, Star Trek.
Tons of Star Wars.
Like,
there's a cool Star Wars piece that'll be coming up too. It's a 3-part cantina scene.
Yeah.
Well, and then that's my point. Is like I don't think I've not seen a fandom by you.
Well, and that's the deal. I never say no.
Yeah.
Obviously, the biggest thing I always tell people if they try and commission me for something is I say, look, it's going to be in my interpretation of it. I obviously can be inspired if there's somebody that says, oh, I want, because there's always one person that'll say, I want this. And they show me a picture of someone else's art. And I go, that's a cool piece of art, but I will not just draw that. I will do my own interpretation of that piece because that guy, he did it himself. He deserves your money if you just want that piece.
Yeah.
I am going to do my version of that. And at this point right now, my weak point before this all began was like anime, and I didn't watch any anime. I really wasn't into it.
Not since like the 90s, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like now I have like
not since Pokemon first came out.
I wasn't even a Pokemon guy.
I was the last anime.
That was my area of expertise.
I was Magic the Gathering. I came in after Pokemon, really, so I didn't even know much about Pokemon. She loved Pokemon. So what was happening is like one of my first commissions I got when we started doing shows was someone commissioned me to do their favorite Pokemon, which was Haunter. Yeah. And that piece like sailed a million ships because I mean at this point I've done I'm sure like over 50 Pokemon, and I got commissions. Oh my gosh. I still have like 3 or 4 Pokemon commissions coming up. So it's like, so we have people that keep locking in and want to see the way I do these. And then we did even our own Christmas and Halloween versions. I did a Halloween Bulbasaur that people loved. And then for Christmas,
still selling that. That's the thing about Pokemon people, even though it's like, he's like, well, I don't know. Will this sell after Halloween? It's like, no, you don't understand. This is a bitchin' Bulbasaur, and it's going to sell all year long. It doesn't matter that it has a cool jack-o'-lantern on its back. Like, this is just a cool Bulbasaur. Same thing with the Santa. He just did a really cool Santa, and he's having a little more fun with the theme. He loves doing the Pokemon because of the textures and stuff. Like, there's no rules. He can create them.
They're just little pixels. So if I want to look like Gengar has crazy scales, as long as the people recognize, I know there's some artists that do like really realistic looking, I don't go that route. I stick to the realistic. Like I stick to the picture that people recognize of those characters, and I just change the textures and the energy that comes out of them so that it looks more realistic with that feel of that character. So it's kind of neat. I just don't want to. I like people to be able to see it, and you could see the shape from a back away and go, oh, that's still Charizard. I get that.
There's like nothing more invigorating than seeing someone that is passionate about their fandom, and then they see your art and they get excited and passionate about it too. Whenever you've hit the mark and like done justice to their favorite character, that's one of the most rewarding feelings. Like, I'm not physically the one drawing them, but I sure enjoy seeing people's reaction to his art. Because I was that way. That's how I started. I saw a piece of his art. I liked it. That's what started our little conversations. And now here we are.
Yeah. And then it was love.
It was love.
And speaking of, once again, you guys are like stealing my segues. Because like, here's an interesting question for like, because this is the CONLIFE podcast and you are con professionals. Like, who's the most intense fandom out there? Like, is it the Whovians, the Browncoats? Like,
oh, wow. You catch the right person on the right day, and there's
because I've seen a lot of interactions, and that's some convention interactions between extreme fans.
I'm gonna say
nerds,
we don't. Okay, so if it's something we're not familiar with, we don't try to like. There'll be some artists that'll be like, "Oh yeah, no, I know all about that character," and then they don't know anything, and they can see that. We never like. I'll be the first to say, you know what? That's not a character I'm familiar with, but I'm excited to learn about it. Share it with me, and then you connect with them more on that level than trying to fake your way through it, because you'll never win that battle with someone that's their fandom.
I mean, most people, especially when they're commissioning it, like I've actually had long conversations with certain people when they try, especially when they want to commission me to do a piece. I am the first to say, if I don't know who that character is, I say, who is it? I'll Google it so I can at least get a look at what the heck we're dealing with here.
Right.
If it's cool, I'll be, yeah, that's cool. I could definitely have fun with that. I will not pretend to know anything. Yes, there are some animes I've had to watch because I don't have a clue who the hell I'm drawing. But the last thing I'm gonna do is be like, "Oh yeah, no, I know that."
No,
I don't
phoning
know.
it in.
I don't know. I don't phone it in. I have no.
But I
don't
can't
wanna.
pick like a single fandom. Like you can't, like, obviously Star Wars people are super passionate. Anime people and anime people.
You know
for
what? I'll
sure.
tell you what I think.
My
Honestly,
Hero.
I think there's an interesting. And this is where the whole Comic-Con. I think there's a little
We're
bit
gonna get
of
into toxic fandom.
well, I won't say toxic, but what I will say is an
It
interesting
exists.
deal is you have people that are hardcore comic book collectors that were before this boom of movies came out that are tried and true celebrators of people that are the old school comic creators. And
That were at San Diego Comic-Con when it was in a hotel basement.
Exactly.
Right, yeah.
So some of those people, sometimes I feel personally I have to almost win over because I am not published through Marvel or DC, so I don't matter to them the
In the
same
very
way.
beginning,
harder
the first
sell.
show I remember us doing, somebody went up to the table. He wasn't there. He'd stepped away to go to the bathroom or something. And someone was so mean and nasty about it being digital. It's like,
Well, that's a
oh,
whole thing,
so it's just digital. But you know, but they were talking about like his comic book art. I think it was the Wolverine piece they were looking at of all things. And they went, that would be so cool if it was actually drawn by hand. And I'm like, it was drawn by hand. It was just digital. And they're like, no, all that Photoshop shit. And I'm like, it wasn't even drawn in Photoshop. That's not even a program that he uses.
I mean,
like,
digital's become much more accepted
it's
these
so
days.
much more accepted now. Yeah, even
at the
in
same time, I mean,
yeah.
my colors were kind of laughed at a lot at first because people looked at that and it wasn't
Yeah.
a normal comic book color.
The last 7 years,
so-
we have seen so much change between the acceptance of different things. Because, like, even whenever we were doing the metal, even when they saw his setup with the lights and stuff, they would laugh. Like, they would be like, "Look at look at this guy and his gimmick," and it's like, no, not his gimmick. This is just him. This is him in a little booth.
And I mean, and now, like, you know, where I've never pushed to try to get published by the big two or any, you know, I had a couple people ask me to do like their own independent comic characters and draw their own, you know, and I'm happy to do that for them as a one-off.
We did a character for Kinetic for Bill.
I just
Kinetic
don't want to be, I think it really just comes down to like, I just don't want to be edited. And that's my thing. And I don't want to be bothered with the whole redraft of like I had my closest thing I could say was I did a piece that was published in a book for Stranger Things. I actually have it here. Ooh, look at that.
Ooh.
Look at that.
Jerry's been preparing for this test.
This is a book that I did through printed in blood and through Netflix. And it was I can actually show the piece. It was talk about D&D background basically.
What's the name of the book for everyone on the audio podcast?
It is Visions from the Upside Down, Stranger Things art book.
All right.
And it's a cool book. This was I'm published.
It's got over 200 artists.
Got over 200
all
artists.
Stranger Things art.
So you can kind of see there's my piece. It's kind of like the monsters playing D&D with the kids, which I thought was cool, you know. And Netflix actually after the fact came back and bought the piece from me because me and about a dozen other artists from the book, they actually went through there was like a file I had to sign that was like Netflix may want to get involved and want your piece and this and that. And I was like, yeah, right, whatever. Here, take my signature. And then they contacted me.
Spam email, that can't be real.
They were like, yeah, we're here to buy out your piece. And I was like, what? I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, whatever. Do it. What do you, they're probably gonna put on a t-shirt or something, or maybe like, a D&D module or something.
If we find out that like we can walk into Hot Topic and buy his art on a shirt, we're live broadcasting that, like that whole thing, because that'd be cool to us.
But with that stuff, I've got a number of books that I'm doing through these companies that I feel is they just take my piece. They're not looking for me. But with the Netflix one, it was funny because I don't know if you noticed in the piece, I had little beer bottles on the table that I draw, and they didn't want beer bottles. They made me change them to soda bottles. That was kind of funny, but I mean that was they didn't want to give
that was like the extent of the edits that he had to do.
Those can't be beer bottles. I was like, all right, I'll Bud to soda, whatever. There you go. But I
Bud
mean,
is now
you know,
Suds.
It's a kid show.
yeah, I guess. I mean, people
With all
die.
that
I mean, you
chain
know.
smoking.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, so interesting stuff like that. So to me, I don't mind that kind of little bit of like, you know, a note, but I can only imagine with like
But it's
Marvel
like
sends to
there's
like an Alex Ross who's
well,
like
there's artists that
you
we
know, a beautiful
admire,
painter and goes, oh,
like
by the way,
Olivia.
you know.
Yeah, like Olivia, who's an amazing pinup artist known for Betty Page, among other things. And recently, in the last few years, she's been doing some comic book related stuff, like Sideshow. And it's like whenever you see the pieces that she does, like there was a Harley Quinn, there was a Wonder Woman, there was a Catwoman piece, and they were rejected because like they don't want the creative interpretation of it. They wanted like just the stock pose, just the stock, and it's like whenever you're squashing an artist and their creativity, it's hard to put inspiration into a piece that's been 100% dictated to you.
Right.
You know,
And like you're saying, especially with the whole people producing you and editing you, not everybody is Neil Adams. Not everybody gets to that point where they're editing themselves. They're writing and doing the drawing and doing the editing. And just like, what? You have a couple ideas for me? That's great. Thanks.
exactly.
And we get it all day. I mean, I get all day like, oh, you'd be great. You'd make money if you drew this. And I'd be like, if you want to commission it, oh no, I don't want to do that. That would involve money. I don't want to do that. I'd be like, well, it'll happen someday, maybe. Who knows?
I have some ideas for you that I'll give you for free. They'll make you $100, and it's like, all right, we'll get right on that.
Well, and reversing things with the whole Neil Adams thing, because I was watching his live stream the other day, and he was gonna raise his prices, but because of the pandemic, he decided to keep all of his prices the way everything are for his fan base. And that's another thing about knowing your fandom and your fan base and who you are as an artist when it comes to how you're pricing things out. Like, there's people that are priced way too high, in my opinion, just because they've been published a couple times and have a little bit of a name. They're charging way too much. And like you said, there's artists out there that are great that are not charging enough.
It's a very weird dichotomy of just people sometimes being scared to ask for what they're worth. They're afraid of being that rejection of being told no.
That's me.
Yeah, well, and it's like, and we get it, and we'll never fault anyone for that, but we'll also tell them like, this is really good. You should be charging more, and then there's people that are, their equivalent drawing of like things that would be put on the fridge by their mom when they were 5, and they're wanting way too much money for it. And it's like, if you can get it, great. Not everybody with a pencil and paper should be, sitting around here.
Everybody's mommy tells them they're special, or at least their mommy's supposed to.
Just take the metals, for example. I mean, I've been selling my 11 by 17 metal pieces at the same price pretty much for the last 7 years. And honestly,
got you a house.
Yeah, I've made a whole business out of it, and I do not complain about that price at all. But I laugh because I see other artists that are getting the same size metal pieces and trying to sell them for more money. Some do, some don't, and that's their business. I just look at it and go,
there's a
okay,
very vast,
don't look at me. But I know what it costs to make this metal, and I know what it costs the time it takes to do the art for it. So be it. But I mean, I feel when I see people, same thing with paper prints, same thing with any type of an art medium. You do have to try and put into mind how much it goes. I have conversations with people all day about, like, that's where it starts getting into the conversation about commissions per se too, because like there's a big difference where somebody, if they ask for like a they want to buy a metal print for me and it's only $50, and then they go, well, what if I had you draw me a piece? And I go, okay, well, that starts at $200, and then they give me that look, and I'm like, well, first of all, I have to draw this now. It's going to take time out of my thing. Now, I mean, as an artist for commissions, I know people that charge more than me for commissions.
Well, and his commission process is a little bit different too. I think it's beneficial to everybody all the way around because
I started my commission the way I do my commissions is a little different than I think a lot of people. A lot of people, when they commission somebody, you do a piece and it's done. I give them the number 1 of 50 on the metal pieces I do. So when they're commissioning me, it's part of the deal that the reason why they're only paying that $200 for that single character is because I'm going to sell 49 others to people across the country. I know that
they get number 1.
Exactly. And that's what
When they
makes
get to
it
pick
work.
maybe the costume or if there's a certain pose and stuff too.
Yeah.
But they most people, and it's so funny because they'll check in periodically, like if they see us at another show and be like, how's my piece selling? Because they're excited to get to share their favorite character with somebody else. So whenever we get to tell them like, oh yeah, no, it retired, and they're so happy just knowing that 49 other people loved it enough to purchase it. So it's just,
I mean, I give people the option. I do get people that'll be like, what if I just want a one of a kind? I'd be like, well, just add a zero on the end and we can go from there. And they go, you know what? I think it's cool that 49 other people can enjoy this piece. I think that's a better way to go. And I mean, I agree wholeheartedly, and it's sometimes that's the deal. I've had an interesting thing since the pandemic. We've had a lot of people start having me do their pets. I've done some animal commissions and things like that, which I never really did before up until this year. And I thought it was, I didn't say no. I thought it was fun. I have a few, and I've done a bunch of them. And those, unfortunately, I had to charge a little more for because no one's going to buy someone else's pet. So I said to them, look, I'm not going to hit you for wanting a specialized Captain America piece that I know that I could be selling to other people. But at the same time, I also have to be realistic to the time and all that stuff. So usually it ends up costing double a normal commission to get a pet made. But people don't care. People love their animals more than they love their comic books. So to me, it's it gets that's a whole
there's
other
a reason
angle.
it's like a $2 billion a year industry.
Yeah, no, look, I get it.
We see your pet pics constantly.
And when I put Tiberius down, it's like, do you want the ashes? It's
Yeah.
no, not really. Well, we can turn the ashes into jewelry. We can do this, that. It's just like, no, I don't. Look, I don't need to be.
Everybody's got a different way, but we actually have a friend that does
the pet
tattoos.
Pet tattoos. Yeah. I don't get it. I mean, I get it as a pet owner and lover, but I don't get it.
Yeah. No, everyone's got their own way of memorializing.
Everyone's got their way of memorizing things. Yeah.
But I think a piece of art on the wall is a great way to do it.
Yeah.
So do I, especially if it's printed on metal and you can put some colored lights on it and make it reflect. All right, so let's do the sales part and promotion of this show. How does everybody get a hold of you for a commission for PescEffects?
Oh, he's looking at me.
I was looking at my manager for a minute. I figured she'd handle that. Okay, I'll take.
I was looking at the guy that always talks all the time. No, I mean, obviously, PescEffects is how you find us for everything on all of our social media: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Tumblr, all of that stuff.
Spell that for the people listening.
I was going to say, I know
it.
that's a little hard. Maybe we would have changed the name in the beginning had we known we would get this popular and people would have to type this out a lot. So PescEffects, PescEffects, PescEffects. Usually when you start putting in the art of Jerry Pesh, which is a lot easier.
Now, the selfish reason why the company is called PescEffects is because that was the name of my business name for my makeup effects company that I did back in the day. It was PescEffects. And so basically I had business cards that I had made up originally for the makeup effects with that. And when I was like, well, I'm going to do this.
He's got all these leftover cards that he needed to get rid of.
I was like, well, I might as well take the name and go with it. And there
That's
you go.
good business sense, sir. That's just saving money. You're keeping your overhead. Keep the branding the same. Keep your overhead low. That's just good business sense. No
but
wonder
you can
so
contact us through any of those pages and talk about commissions at any point. Obviously, the back and forth between actual messages on our social media is easier to actually get down pat what you're looking for and what you're wanting. And if you just want some really cool art in your feed, follow us on any of those social media channels.
And their website. Mm-hmm. And
we have a website, yeah.
PescEffects.com.
Where are you guys streaming your CouchCon live every Friday?
Facebook. Yeah, Facebook Live is how we're doing that. And again, you just go to our regular Facebook page, PescEffects, Art of Jerry Pesh, and there's events. Every time we're planning on going live, there's an event posted, there's information posted in that event. We post periodically throughout the week, giving you a little bit more insight and information on that stuff, show you all the cool stuff that's coming up on the show.
If you, for example, for the show we're going to be doing this coming Friday on the 18th, if somebody wanted to say get in on the dibs for the artist proofs that will be available, you would go to the event. You would go into the discussion section, and then Serenity will have all these pictures of each of the pieces that you would write dibs under the ones you wanted to dib. We also do post it onto our business page
yeah.
for twofold. For some reason, there are people on Facebook that some reason cannot see our events, and Facebook doesn't know how to fix that for some reason. I don't know why that's been going on, but we found like at least 3 of our
We have
fans
a handful of people that just
literally
can't
say
see
they
or
can't
interact with
see our events, and so that's weird. But at the same time, it also cross promotes, helps, and makes it easier for people to find us.
Exactly. Well, yeah, don't get me started. I'm in Facebook jail again. So I'm done with you, Zuckerberg, you fuck. Anyway, I hope the government actually does tear Facebook apart.
I wish there would be. I wish somebody would come up. You know what I miss? I miss MySpace. I might be old here, but I miss MySpace. I wish somebody would come up with a platform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want them to like let people speak and do what they want to do without being hurtful. As long as you're not hurting anybody, I don't need somebody to tell me or tell anyone that there's some fact check that something for 20 years ago that, because and half the fact checkers don't even know what they're checking. It seems they're just checking what they want to check, and then they shut you off. And honestly, even on our own page, what would be, you know, we're on our page. I don't need somebody to tell me that somebody's spamming my page. I can tell if somebody's spamming my page. I don't need somebody
like
to decide
if they start
that.
muting our people that are just dropping like one too many heart emojis during our live broadcasts, so they cut them. It's like, come on, these people are here to show us support and love.
Right.
That you put all these actions here for them to do, and now you're going to say they're spamming. It's like, let us decide. I'm quick to ban somebody that's causing me a problem, so we can handle that.
Same here. And look, and Facebook, stop sending me messages saying I'm not posting enough on my multiple pages that I own and run while I'm in Facebook jail, and you won't let me post anything, for the love of God.
Yeah.
Well, I was actually for the longest time, like, because we do, you know, once again, unfortunately, it's part of the business. I spent, you know, we boost our events and things like that. And I had to go in every time because for some reason, Facebook thinks I'm in Indonesia. It's like I have to go in and change the setting of where I'm from. I'm like, I'm not trying to advertise to a country I've never been to before. It makes no sense. I just want to keep it in the States, please. That's all I'd like.
Shipping to there is so expensive. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I can only
You're
imagine.
Trying to keep your overhead,
I wouldn't know.
You've already got your business model.
I think she shipped to Germany, Australia.
Australia
New
for
Zealand,
sure, yeah.
England, but
we got stuff all over the world, so
yeah.
Well, who knows? This could be being listened to or watched all over the world. And speaking of which, thank you for being here, Serenity, Jerry,
thank you.
PescEffects. Check them out on all their social media, their website. Check out their CouchCon every Friday. It's a cool live event. I love checking it out. And you can get some cool art to hang on your wall like I got behind me, that if you're watching this, if you're listening to audio, you need to jump over to YouTube and watch.
Yeah, you have to see this.
Yeah, this is probably one of the more visual of all the podcasts I'll be doing.
Or anytime I have an artist on there.
Yeah. Jump on the YouTube and check that out. Thank you to our sponsors, Dark Nyte Studios. Love you, Batt.
Thank you,
this
Batt.
Awesome shirt. Go check out his Etsy. If you guys need shirts made for you and your brand and your podcast, or for getting ready for the convention season, hit him up at darknytestudios.com and all of his social media. Thank you to exclusivehempfarms.com, giving all of our listeners and followers 10% off of their amazing CBD products, using the Down the Road Show as your promo code. And jump over to Down the Road Show for any of our CBD reviews that will be coming on all of their products. Thank you for being here at CONLIFE. Thank you for subscribing, liking, commenting, and sharing. And we'll see you at a convention somewhere down the road.
See you down the road, Ken.